You know what? I'm going to start with this. Jon Scheyer at Duke. It was weird seeing him on the sidelines, but playing without Dariq Whitehead, playing without Derek Lively, playing with a team that had kind of been banged up throughout the preseason, a whole bunch of new freshmen, transfers coming in, new head coach. They went out and they beat a tough, physical, old, talented Jacksonville team. They got a front line with two SEC guys on their front line. Jacksonville, like they're no slouch. They're going to be a team that compete in their conference. And Duke handled them. They gave up 44 points. I was worried about Duke's defense. They gave up 44 points. What was your biggest takeaway? Jon Scheyer, his first real head coaching appearance.
I would say to me, it was the fact that they were still able to win against a Jacksonville team that was picked second in its league and able to win fairly handily. You know, they played well out of the gates. Jacksonville gave them a little bit of problems. Mark Mitchell really impressed me. You know, he was one of those guys that we didn't see a lot in the circuit because he was hurt. So this was kind of my first chance to really see him. And I love him, man. The energy, the toughness, the intangibles, everything he brings to the court. Roach looked pretty good, and he made shots. Proctor did not. Tyrese Proctor, their freshman, he struggled a little bit. But I just feel like once you get live, and I don't know when it's going to be, like when Whitehead and Lively come back and get 100%, we may be talking ACC play before that. I don't know how long it's going to be and how long it's going to take them, because as freshmen, when you miss time in the preseason, it's important. It's important. It takes time. Not everybody's Zion Williamson, especially Lively, who's long and thin. So I was impressed. I like this Duke team. I thought this was a good win for them to fight through without two starters.
Yeah, I thought that the performance of Mitchell was really important because he's the guy that kind of connects everything in that roster, right? We know Jeremy Roach is going to be the point guard. We know that he's like, we can debate whether or not we think he's an All-American or if he's just like a really good ACC point guard. Regardless, he had 16, 6, 4 dimes tonight, made 4 threes. Like, he played well. If he gives that kind of performance every night this season, they're going to be fine. I'm not worried about Tyrese Proctor making shots. He is a good shooter. Those shots are going to start going in at some point. Everybody has bad shots or has bad nights. And if you're a 17-year-old as a freshman getting a start at Duke in your first game, you know what? You might have a little bit of the jitters. You might miss some shots early on. Not worried about that. Jalen Blake's made some shots off the bench. Jacob Granderson, that stroke's going to come around. So I'm not like all the other pieces are kind of there, right? But once Dariq Whitehead gets back and Derek Lively gets back, though, all of a sudden you have a point guard you can trust. You have guys that can shoot at the 2 spot.
Yeah.
You have Dariq Whitehead and Mark Mitchell are tough, physical, athletic kind of combo forwards that can be switchable, that can play 4-round-1, that can be those versatile pieces all around Derek Lively, who's going to erase everything at the rim. And you still got Kyle Filipowski, who we didn't mention, who happened to have a double-double tonight. Like, I came into the season kind of being like, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to trust Duke early on. I think they're going to take some lumps. And then you watch them here and you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe that's a really dumb thing to think, Rob.
Well, I mean, let's see. Their schedule gets tough. So obviously with Champions Classic starting up, and then they go to PK 85. So, they got some tough ones in here too. And I'm hoping they get Lively back at the very least for some of these big matchups, because selfishly, I want to see him next week in Indy.
I mean, it would be such a bummer if at the Champions Classic, and we're going to be there. That announcement is coming tomorrow. So keep it tuned. If you want to be on the Field of 68 daily, we're going to have some news there for you. It would be such a bummer if like Lively, Dariq Whitehead, and Oscar Tshiebwe all didn't play at the Champions Classic. That would suck.
Let's not even think negatively.
I'm not. You know what? I'm retracting that statement. I'm pulling it out of the air. I'm not going to put that into the universe. I'm not going to put that thought out there. How about Kyle Neptune? He had his first game as head coach, taking over for Jay Wright. He looked stylish on the sideline, but it was still.
I think Villanova should have played Duke tonight.
That would have been fun.
Wouldn't that have been a good game?
You know what you need to be? You need to quit the Field of 68, and you just need to be a promoter. Actually, you know what? You need to get these people to play those games on the Field of 68.
Yes, that would be good too.
That would have been awesome.
That would be great too. But imagine that game. Like, then everybody would have watched it. I mean, you would have had everybody watching that game if you had Scheyer against Kyle Neptune. Kyle's kind of understated because I think of Scheyer a little bit and Kay and all that. And, obviously you're without Justin Moore here, and now Cam Whitmore, your top freshman, and maybe a top 5 or 10 pick. So you're without your 2 most talented players, and you still beat a Big 5 team. You beat a decent team tonight coming out of the gates, and luckily you got Dixon. He's been good. Caleb Daniels was very good tonight. Brandon Slater's Brandon Slater. And then they got to fill in those other couple pieces until those dudes come back. But if to me, you get Whitmore back soon, which you will, I still think it's going to depend on Justin Moore. Can he come back in January? Because I think if he comes back in February, it's too late. It's going to be too hard to throw him in there with it.
It's going to be so hard for him to get back up to the level of fitness that he needs to be in to play at the Big East level. Like that, yes. To me, that's the biggest question. It's not like, will he come back to 100%? I'm not super concerned about like, oh, you tear your ACL, you lose a little bit of the quick twitch stuff, because like Justin Moore is not someone that beats you with explosiveness, right?
Shoots the ball.
Yeah. Shoots the hell out of it, can create space, is crafty, big, strong, physical, right? Like I'm not super like it's not going to be the easiest thing, but I'm not super concerned about that. It's just a question of like, when is he going to be back to being Justin Moore as opposed to a guy wearing Justin Moore's jersey? That makes sense. But I'll tell you what, man, if Caleb Daniels is going to have 24, 10, and 4 assists and shoot 6 or 7 from 3, it might not matter. Exactly. Like, who cares? I will say this about Villanova is that I think one thing that I underrated in the preseason was losing Colin Gillespie, right? We talk about point guard play all the time, and just kind of like the presence when that dude was on the court, right? Like there was a feeling when he was on the floor that everything was going to be okay, right? That you're going to find a way to get it done. Even if he was a guy that looked like when he came in, he looked like he should be playing in the America East instead of the Big East. He proved a lot of people wrong, proved a lot of doubters wrong. And losing that level of leadership, that level of confidence, having that coach on the floor at the same time that you lose your Hall of Fame head coach and you replace him with a guy that has spent 1 year as a head coach before this, like it's just, there's a lot of turnover. So to come out in your first game and just beat up on a rival like this that was impressive. Now, here's my question, Jeff.
You know what it is, Rob? Like, I think I was talking to a high major coach this morning, and he said, he's like, some teams are going to get plucked off today, like tonight. It's going to happen, especially with as much turnover as with the portal and some of the other things that have gone on in the offseason, right? You got NIL, so you got more distractions for a lot of these kids. So I think we thought there would be more upsets than there would be, or certainly closer games, and we'll get to TCU later. But there really weren't. Like, most of these teams handle business coming out of the right away in the season opener today, which surprised me a little bit. I thought we'd have more close games and more upsets.
Yeah, and that was, I think that's part of the reason why we're sitting here and it's like, yeah, a lot of stuff happened, but there's not really all that much to talk about. Like, did any top 25 teams lose? I know we still have some games going on, but I don't think any top 25 teams lost. So Zero. It's right. Yeah, that is impressive. And that's kind of a credit to the coaching staffs.
Yeah. Yeah. And to the players for being focused. And again, I'm sure they're ready to go, and home court advantage means more now. It means more coming out of the pandemic. These fans are so pumped up. I mean, my daughter is a freshman at Indiana, and she said, she got through it tonight after the game. She texted me. She said,
wait, your daughter goes to Indiana?
She does. Talia texted me, and she said it's the most fun she's had so far since she's been in college. And that says a lot, because, she's been out a few times. You
turned her into such a hoops junkie. I love it.
It's insane.
I love it. She's such a hoops
out of control. I know she came in like, a hockey girl, and I'm hoping at least hoops is, on
get it in top 3. Get college basketball in top 3, and you'll be happy.
It's already in the top 3. It's 2. It's hockey is 1. College hoops is 2 at this point. But she said the crowd was unbelievable. And I think that's the difference too right now. You've got crowds that are even hungrier because, they had it last year. Last year was the first semi-normal year in a few years. And this year is the first that it feels completely normal.
Yeah, last year was like normal-ish because we
Yeah.
still had that period in December and kind of early January when the Omicron wave went through and team games are getting canceled and like we had all this stuff getting shut down. That's why part of the reason why Providence had the record that they had, right? Like they played 3 less games in league play. And like, I'm okay. Look, Providence fans, you guys won. I'm not arguing that you shouldn't have won, but I'm just saying like it was not completely normal. Like this year, it feels like it is about as normal as you can possibly get.